Hey, what's up, universe? It's 6:24 p.m. Central Time on Monday, October 16th, 2023. A few things that are inspiring this update. One quick update is that I found a role for a company today that piqued my interest. I just kind of happened upon it, so I went ahead and spent a couple of hours at least, maybe 2 or 3 hours, writing the cover letter and like getting some things, filling out the application, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. It's a different, in a way it's similar to some things that I've done. It just kind of brings in some of the stuff I've done in the past, technology related, a little bit support related, but also just different. So I'm just kind of curious, and when I feel into it, I don't know the feeling that I can articulate. Anyway, it's just interesting. I'll put it that way. So we'll see what happens with that. Excited, but also not like, no expectations. We'll put it that way. We'll see what happens. I saw my boys today, so that was fun. Good time. Just got back from seeing them not too long ago. And while I was there, I spoke with Angela, and there's some potential, there's a possibility for some really good news that came from her as well, regarding a potential vehicle for within a price range that I can actually afford out of pocket, which, as you guys have seen, as far as my pay stub goes that I shared, isn't a huge amount. So I'm excited about that. Again, not like I don't have any expectations around that. It's just a potential. So I view these things as little hints and gifts from the universe, even if they don't materialize. They're kind of signals in the way that things, they always work out. So if nothing else, I feel buoyed by these manifestations, I guess, or these experiences that have come to me today. So I'm grateful for that. So thank you for all of that. And we'll see what actually materializes. One thing I want to speak to real quick, kind of in relation to that, if you guys are ever interested, I know I've mentioned Molly McCord as well, the astrologer. She's on YouTube, and she does podcasts every Monday and Wednesday. I listened to her podcast today, and there's just, every time I listen to her, there's just language that lands with what I'm going through, or the thing, like the same words that I'm using, the same phrases. It's just really interesting. So the one for today, personal sovereignty was coming up. Just the way things line up with like my own personal chart and like transits that are happening, time frames of things. It's all relevant. It's interesting to me how that works out. She's definitely my favorite astrologer to listen to. So again, I'm just going to put that out there. If you guys are interested, I definitely recommend checking her out. And then just kind of what came up for me, just to like share, there's I forget where the test is online, but like you can go through and like kind of take like a quiz, right, and see and I did this a while ago, but you can take a quiz and see like what your philosophical beliefs kind of align you with, like as far as a religion goes or anything like that. In Buddhism is what I seem to align with most, or primarily. And, the more I've studied it and read about it and learned about it, it's definitely true. That most of my philosophy is in alignment with that. And I remember reading probably like a year or two ago now, it's been a while, a story about Buddha. And I was trying to remember, like, it was coming back. I just wanted to share it with you guys. Kind of like that Alan Watts story about the Chinese farmer, and like, is it good or bad? Maybe, right? This one is not quite the same. It's more about like retaining personal power and, you know, the gift of anger, basically. And that's kind of the name of the, I don't know if I want to call it parable. That's the name of the story, right? Buddha and the angry man, or Buddha and the gift of anger. You'll find it. And there's this guy, Keith Rosen. He's got a good site, keithrosen.com. It's about Buddhism. So I'm going to read his version of this story because it's what I read a couple of years ago, and it's always stuck with me. And it's something that I like to reflect upon, something I look to connect with as best I can. Again, you know, these things are practice. Nobody's perfect. It's something that I use to center myself or become mindful of. And I wanted to share it with you guys because it ties into like the last handful of videos and just some of the stuff that's been going on over the last, couple of weeks, right? So there you go. So the title of the story is called The Buddha, the Angry Man, and the Gift. Okay, Keith starts off, he says, I don't lay claim to this parable, as it's been written and interpreted hundreds of different ways. Here's my version of this powerful life lesson about selflessness, giving, building your personal power, and how to protect it, especially in the face of toxic people and the energy thief who can rob it from you. Okay, so it starts off and it says, after many days of travel, Buddha arrived at a small town to give a speech. Everyone was happy to see him, except for one young man. While Buddha spoke, the man was shouting at him. Buddha did not pay attention and continued speaking. This infuriated the man even more. He walked directly in front of the Buddha and continued to ridicule him. You have no right to teach others. You're stupid and you're a fake. The crowd began to react to this young man's caustic behavior. Buddha stopped the crowd from turning against him and said, it is not always necessary to counter aggression by aggression. Instead, he turned to the man and asked, if you buy a gift for someone and that person does not take it, to whom does the gift belong? The young man was surprised by the question, thought for a moment, and answered, it would belong to me because I bought the gift. The Buddha said, correct. It is the same with your anger. If you become angry with me and I don't feel insulted nor accept your hostility, the anger falls back on you, as it was initially yours to give. You are then the only one who becomes unhappy, not me. All you've done is hurt yourself. The young man understood, clasped his hands together, and slowly bowed to the Buddha. It was an acknowledgement that this man had learned a valuable lesson that day. And so, the Buddha concluded, as a mirror reflects an object, as a still lake reflects the sky, take care that what you speak or act is for good. For goodness will always cast back goodness, and harm will always cast back harm. The lesson: no matter what the situation, if you surrender yourself to anger, if you surrender your personal power to others, they will always take your life away from you. Instead, be the mirror, the reflection of themselves. Now, the only person who truly gets infected by their negative energy is them. Those that are angry, it is pain and sadness that is disguised by the anger, and those who are hurt and attempt to put that on others are the only ones who suffer. If you are mindful enough to choose not to allow it in. Instead, you can find your personal power in your higher self and put aside your ego. Never let anyone rob you of your personal power because it's about them, not you. Instead of allowing others to inhibit your greatness or try to disempower you, rather than choosing to react, be the gift you give to the world and to them. Never underestimate the positive impact and influence you can have on others. That is why the gift is you. And this just kind of reminds me, as I was reading it, about, the 4 agreements. There's the one agreement, don't take anything personal. And there's other philosophies that go along this line as well. And this is that is a practice, and it's just something that, that's why when I say that, like, the situations that I find myself in, or the circumstances that I find myself in, that I have put myself in, how things appear, right? Given this situation here, the Buddha was teaching, and there was an angry man, and it appeared to be very confrontational, yet the Buddha was like, whatever, he was undisturbed by the appearance of things. And that's mastery, right? That's an example of mastery, about not letting the appearance of something disturb his inner peace, maintaining his personal power, and even showing compassion towards the very thing that was looking to be antagonistic towards him. And I think part of the reason I wanted to reflect on this is that I was reflecting on my marriage to Angela, and how I had shown up in that marriage, and some of my attitudes, and some of my energy, and some of my beliefs, and the way that I acted, and just the energy that I had towards Angela while I was married to her, and how much healing I've done over the last, 13 years or so, like quite a while. Maybe less than that, but somewhere around there, we'll say. And how the things the energy that I was putting towards her was really just it was a reflection of what all was going inside of me, even though I didn't understand or know that. I was completely unaware of that. And it was a whole mix of stuff, a whole mix of unconscious, subconscious things, a lot of unhealed things, a lot of things that I just simply had no clue about. And that's how it was showing up in my relationship with her. And so I was just reflecting on that. And it wasn't even until within the last maybe 3 years or so that I really even started to learn how to have compassion for other people, just for our species. And that was a big turning point for me too. I can remember the day that happened, where I was like, wow, like I'm starting to feel compassion for other people, because most of my life I had lived very indifferent, very angry, very antagonistic towards our species, just kind of full of piss and vinegar in a way, you know what I mean? And the opposite of compassion is indifference. And so I shared this with this Buddha story just because it does go back to like some of the stuff I've spoken about with my relationship with my family, and how I said, I've mentioned before that I don't hold it against them, that it's a learned behavior, that, so I'm looking to have compassion towards them. I understand, and that's why I validate their stance, like I get it. I understand how what I do appears. I know how that appears. I know the feelings that probably inspires. Their reactions are completely valid, and so are mine, like I'm not going to invalidate myself. My experience, my choices are just as valid. This is where these things are not mutually exclusive. And that is most of life. Most of the time when two seemingly opposing sides are not really opposing sides, both sides are valid. And you can take that with world events that are going on right now, but that's just, to me, having gone through what I've gone through and the lessons that I've learned, there's a whole lot of compassion that I've come into. And there's a whole lot that I've learned about how, anger, and when hurt people, that's basically what it comes down to. Anger, violence, aggression, antagonism, ridicule, condensation, condescending, attitudes or behaviors or beliefs. All of these things usually sit on top of some kind of wound and some type of pain, some type of trauma, some type of unresolved inner conflict, they never really have anything to do with the thing that it's being directed at. The thing that it's being directed at is the trigger, and the trigger is never the problem. The trigger is never the problem. The trigger is the thing to try to make us aware that there's something to be healed, there's something to be looked at, there's something to be reconciled. And that's why you'll find some teachers and healers say to be grateful for your triggers, because they will show you where your healing, that's where your healing is. And so I just wanted to offer that up. Again, it's not about ridiculing or attacking, anything about my family. I'm just speaking through my own examples of my own experiences and my own beliefs. And maybe that resonates with some of you as you've experienced some things in your own life, in your own relationships with various people. So I've been talking for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And I just wanted to say thanks to everybody. Thanks for joining me and journeying with me and for giving me your attention. And that includes everybody on my path. When I say I'm thankful for everybody, that includes everybody. And I even do that in the times when I feel triggered or that I'm angry. And it's not always easy, because there's not always a time when I want to give thanks for that kind of thing. So, but I am grateful. I am grateful for that. I'm grateful for everybody. And thanks for being a part of my journey. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.